Hey guys, Miss Peterson here, and today we're going to be learning how to use Google Sheets to do all of the analysis for our Molarity of Kool-Aid lab. We'll be learning how to use Excel or Google Sheets to do calculations for us and create our scatterplot graph. So right now, I just opened up a blank Google Sheet. I'm going to give it a title, Data Molarity of Kool-Aid lab. And then I have to create my data table in Google Sheets. Now, if you already have access to the data table headings, you can totally just copy it with Control-C and go to the top cell where you want it to start to paste and paste it there. We can adjust the size of our columns using these scales, okay? And if we needed to edit any sizing or anything like that, we would do that up here. Now, I had 5 solutions, so I'm going to do 1. And then I'll show you a little cool trick. You can go to that lower right-hand corner and drag and pull down. Okay. Oh, and of course it didn't do it. Excel does this series, but we'll just have to type 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me zoom in a little bit more so you guys can better see what I'm doing. Okay. So first thing, I know I want borders on my whole column. So I'm going to select the whole thing and go right here to borders to add all of those borders. Now, for my volume of Kool-Aid solution, all of my volumes were 0.20 liters or 200 milliliters. So I'm going to click and drag that down. And I actually want to show those decimal places. So we can control those here. Okay. Now, in my experiment, in my first trial, I used 5.1 grams. In my second one, I had 9.9. In my third one, I had 15.2. Okay. Then I had about 20.4 and about 25.6. So we got our raw data typed in there. And I'm actually going to also center my data just so that it looks a little cleaner. Okay. Now, for our moles of Kool-Aid powder use, how do we convert from grams to moles? Good old molar mass. So the molar mass of sugar can be calculated by decoding that chemical formula, and it comes out to 342.3 grams per mole. So in order to go from grams to moles, I will want to take my mass. We type equals to say, hey, Google Sheets, do some math for me. I want you to take that mass and divide it by 342.3, the molar mass of that. And that will convert to grams per moles. And look, it even suggests that autofill, which I was going to do. Now, if it didn't suggest the autofill for whatever reason, you could go to the lower right-hand corner and click and drag it down. Okay. Now, didn't want it there. Now, obviously, this is way too many decimal places. I don't know my number of moles to that level of precision. My grams only gave me 1. So I will want to control those decimals and get it down to a reasonable number that matches my given data, which is going to be in my lowest ones 2 significant digits. So I want to have 2 digits in my moles. Okay. Now for molarity, we can also have it do those calculations for us. Molarity is the moles per liter. So I'm going to say equals, hey Excel, hey Google Sheets, do math. And we're going to click on the column that contains our moles, divided by the column that contains our liters, and press enter. It also does the autofill. Okay. And then again, I want to control those decimals and have it be a little more reasonable. So we can see my molarity of my Kool-Aid went from about 0.07 all the way to 0.3. I would fill in my yummy scale and my observations. Those are more subjective. And then let's go ahead and see how we're going to graph these. I'll go ahead and just fill in some numbers on mine so you guys can see kind of what I thought in an example graph. Okay. Now, to graph, we want to graph the molarity versus our scale. So we're going to select those 2 columns. Okay. Then we go to Insert, and it's going to be a chart. Now, it's like, you want a bar chart, don't you? And I'm like, no, that is not what I want. Okay, this is science class. In science, we do scatter plots, okay, which show us the dots with that comparison. So let me go ahead and pull that graph down here, zoom back out a bit, and we'll start making the graph actually look a little nice. Okay. So first thing we need to do is we need to add our headings. If that little thing on the bottom goes away, you go to edit chart style or to whatever you want to do. First, I'll go ahead and do a title on it. Okay, and I want that title to be Molarity of Kool-Aid versus yumminess. Okay, our y-axis versus our x-axis. Then I'll go ahead and give it a horizontal axis title. The horizontal x-axis is my molarity. And you don't want to forget units on it, so capital M, or we could do moles per liter. Yep. And then let me go and add my vertical axis title. That is my yumminess scale, or yumminess rating, whatever you want to call it. Yep. And we have our graph. Now we could also go into chart style and change our colors. We could add different data points, make them bigger, smaller, add grid lines, anything like that. But we have our basic graph there. Okay. Now, if I wanted to add a trend line to it, well, my data isn't very linear, so that doesn't quite make sense to me. You could do something like a moving average trend line, but for this one, it doesn't make quite as much sense because it is just a subjective scale that we're measuring. So for this one, we don't need a trend line. And that's how we'll be using Google Sheets to create our graphs. Now you got your graph available to copy and paste to wherever you need it. Okay, cool. Okay, cool.